Okay, so this is our first assignment of the class. This is where we really want to make sure that we have our software set up. Your Illustrator is probably going to look different than mine. If you're using Photoshop, it's going to look quite a bit different, but the beginning stuff here I think is probably all going to be about the same. When you open up the file, you're grabbing your template here. And if any of you have any trouble getting the Illustrator template, go ahead and just right-click that and right click it and you should be able to get that opened up just fine. So anyway, we start here. Make sure that it does say RGB right here and not CMYK. If by chance it does say CMYK, it's going to eat your colors, so you want RGB. The next thing is your color window, or your color menu, window here. You've got some options in there. The default for most of you is going to be RGB. And for color, if you've done the reading so far, we know that we actually focus on the hue, saturation, and this is sort of attributed to value. But basically, this controls hue, saturation, and value. So if you set it to a hue, you can control the tints, shades, and tones within that hue really easily. Whereas if you're in RGB, and you want to keep it that hue, things kind of move around on you a little bit. So it's a little harder to operate in terms of our 3 points of color, hue, saturation, and value. So anyway, for this assignment, let's see. So we've got RGB and we've got HSB sliders up and running, and we've got these guys here. And these are already pre-blended. And the nice thing about that is you can come in, and again, this is all for Illustrator. Photoshop, you can do this in a couple of ways. The tutorials cover it, but for the most part, I want you guys using Illustrator, just because it's so much easier and it's actually a lot more fun. And it's easier to edit too. So what you're going to be doing is, on this one, starting with a fully saturated hue. Now, don't use the example that I'm using here. Use a different color. Okay, so we're going to just drag our orange, and it'll look a little weird at first. If it doesn't have that plus, then it means you didn't grab it, but that's a good sign there. And we're just going to take it in on all of these. So we know that a tint is what? A tint is a hue plus white. So we need this to be white. Easy enough. Anytime the S slider's at 0 and B slider's at 100, that's white. So we just take that, drag it over, and now we look and we say, all right, yeah, that looks good. We've got hue, pure hue, all the way to white. Next one, shades. Shades are black plus hue. And there we go. Looks good. The next one, now, these are going to be grays. Tones are going to be where you add black and white, so gray to your hue. And so we need to make sure the S slider is at 0, so saturation is at 0. And we want to put a gray in there that's lighter than this orange. Didn't stick. There we go. Nope. Come on. Is that the same value? Doesn't look like it. There we go. I don't know what that was. Darker value. Okay, I think this one's probably darker, but let's just in case drop it in there. What is going on? It does not like that, does it? Weird. Okay. Make sure that S slider is at 0. That happens quite a bit. There we go. So now that's good. S slider's at 0. Notice the H slider moved. When you're dealing with grays, it doesn't really matter as long as S is at 0. And then here we want one that is a constant value. And now this is where you have to sort of eyeball it, and it's not really that easy. So, one way you can do it is stick a shape over here, fill it in with your gray like this. You can zoom in on that, and you can kind of squint at it, and trying to figure out, maybe that looks pretty close. Let's turn the stroke off on that. And like if I squint at that, it's kind of hard to see the distinction there. So, we can come in maybe a little darker. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I now know that that's going to be the color that I want over here. And then don't forget to delete that. And that's it. So we're done. At this point, you just need to export it as a JPEG and make sure that it does have your last name, first name, week 1 assignment 2.jpg for your export. And then you should be good to go. So the idea, again, we want pure hue over here, and then we want white, black, lighter gray, darker gray, gray with the same value, and then we should be good. So let me know if you have any questions on that, though.